we're going to take a look at a video by Teddy Slurp. My Hero Academia Vigilantes is insane. I have looked at My Hero Academia. I didn't really like it. I only saw the season 1, but whatever. Anyway, let's take a look at this video. The link will be in the description down below.
Imagine My Hero Academia, but instead of watching borderline gods up in the sky fighting amongst mortal men, you're watching mortal men on the ground fighting amongst drug dealers and whatnot. I think My Hero Academia Vigilantes is what a lot of people wanted My Hero Academia to be in the first place. I remember when the OG My Hero anime was first gaining a lot of traction back in
I do not remember this episode.
Like 2017, 2018, there were 3 main angles of critique that detractors of the series would raise against My Hero. Critique number 1 was always the whole Deku cries a lot type bullshit, and it's like, alright bruh, sure, you do you, but when I firebomb your grandma's porch, I don't want to hear no tears. The second, more valid critique was the one about the overall premise of the show. There was just a certain portion of the audience here in the US that didn't really vibe with like the core premise of the show, where the MC is effectively gifted the means to chase his dream.
Ah yes, All Might, a grown man giving a teenager, a young boy, a hair, said, "Here, young boy, eat my hair," which the FBI needs to look into that. That's a little creepy. Grown man.
Like, I remember seeing so many different people at the time going on about like, oh, I would have preferred a story where Deku ended up becoming a quirkless hero. And I mean, it's like, yeah, that probably would have made a cool story, maybe, but that's also just not what My Hero Academia is though. The third and final critique was actually more of a Deku character critique that I'm going to expand on later in the
Hey look, it's Nux. Ha! It's Nux Taku. That is hilarious.
Video because I think it ties into the characterization of this new MC a lot, but I brought up these 3 critiques in the first place because it feels like the blind spots of the OG My Hero were low-key used as a basis for writing this Vigilante spinoff, which I think makes for a really cool experience in general. Anyway, I have like literally 1,000 words worth of like My Hero glazing yap that I'm cutting from this script because niggas do not want to hear me get started talking about miracles in her thighs, bruh. But yeah, today I want to take you all through this first episode of My Hero Academia Vigilantes, kick off what will hopefully be a consistent series on the channel, and yeah, so without any further ado, My Hero Academia Vigilantes Episode 1. Alright, so I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume that I do not have to explain the basics of the My Hero Academia universe to you. We all know about quirks, we all know about the glowing baby.
The baby is glowing. Oh my god, throw it away.
We all know about All Might. We all know about the core foundational aspects of My Hero's world building. And so instead of giving y'all like a rehash on the basics of how this world works, I want to introduce y'all to the MC of the series, Himawari Koichi. We're introduced to Koichi in a way that I'm pretty sure is supposed to be like a callback to the way that we met Deku in the OG My Hero. Koichi is standing off on the sidelines watching this big ass villain attack like it's a fucking WWE spectacle. That shit has always been crazy to me, bro. Like, niggas in My Hero won't even run from villains like that. They'll just sit there and watch a nigga while he's eating motorcycles and shit. But anywho, this villain that's rampaging through the city is quickly packed up by All Might, who at this point is still an active hero. The story takes place like 5 years before the OG, by the way. It's a prequel. Anyway, like Deku, Koichi is an All Might fanboy, which, I don't know, that just really goes to show how massive All Might's presence is in the My Hero world, because we're literally getting 2 back-to-back shows about heroes who were inspired by All Might. But unlike Deku, Koichi is a college student, and so not long after witnessing this glorified street fight, homeboy realizes that he has to head off to class, and so he does just that. Koichi tries to cut through this alley to get to class quicker, but as we all know, if you run through an alley in anime, you're bound to run into some thug-ass, miscreant-ass niggas who usually hang out in groups of 3 for some reason, and so of course that happens to Koichi. Koichi ends up kowtowing himself to apologize at the request of the thug group leader that he bumped into, which, like,
why would you do that?
Come on, man, you gotta have some more confidence than that. An instantaneous kowtow is crazy. Personally, if I were Koichi, I'd start working on my self-esteem, you know, maybe start off finding a cologne scent that suits me and boost my confidence. leader walks up to him while he's on the ground and tries to kick him for like actually no reason whatsoever. Like, this nigga is low-key comically evil, but in order to avoid being kicked, Koichi activates his quirk.
That's a useless quirk, but what can you do? It's My Hero Academia.
Slide and glide, which
Whoa, who are these guys? These are the funniest looking villains I ever seen in my entire life. Shoot.
which essentially allows him to slide along the ground if he's making at least 3 points of contact with his body. Now, at first glance, this seems like a pretty decent quirk. You know, nothing crazy, but it's cool, I guess. I mean, if his quirk works how I think it does, Koichi's body can, like, low-key ignore friction, which has some crazy potential in itself. But the thing about Koichi's quirk, like, the drawback, if you will, is that he can only move at about the speed of a slow bicycle. And so, yeah, he's probably not going to be breaking the top 10 hero list anytime soon with that type of quirk. There's also, like, this whole element of, like, Koichi kinda looking fucking stupid while he's using his quirk. Like, imagine a nigga on all fours just sliding across the pavement.
I don't trust this girl. Look at her. Why is she smiling and holding books? Why is she holding books and smiling? You see a smiling girl with books? She's up to something. She's an enemy. I'm just saying.
At like 10 miles an hour. Yeah, that shit would look fucking dumb. And so Koichi literally has people calling him a cockroach whenever he uses his quirk, just because of how goofy that shit looks in the first place. You know, he's like crawling around on the ground like a cockroach. Anywho, Koichi makes it to class, presumably, and we don't end up seeing him again until that same evening when he stops to watch some vigilante idol chick named Pop Step perform a song up on like a lamppost or some shit.
That's a revealing outfit. And what kind of stupid microphone is this? Is this microphone actually real? Can I actually buy it at the store? Or is this just for a show?
Now, this concept of a vigilante idol is actually mad interesting to me, because I think it finally acknowledges the fact that in a world like My Hero, there's going to be plenty of people using their quirks for all types of shit, really. Like in the OG My Hero, we really only saw quirk users as heroes, villains, and then like the occasional government worker or some shit like that. But it's like, where are the entertainers? Where are the athletes? Can those sorts of people get licenses to use their quirks for their job? Can Japan just send Bunny Girl Mirko to the Olympics and have her come home with like 37 golds around her neck? Like, I've always been curious about how that shit worked. I don't think she can beat LeBron though. Anywho, we cut back to Koichi, and he's sort of envious of the attention that Pop Step is getting during her little street performance. Koichi actually points out a really interesting dynamic that the two of them have quirk-wise, where because her quirk Leap propels her into the air, people are constantly looking up at her, which naturally...
You could also see her panties. But I'm just saying.
Most instinctively causes people to admire her, since, you know, people just naturally respect things that they have to physically look up to. With Koichi, on the other hand, his quirk sees to it that he's physically down on the ground, and so naturally people look down on him.
Of course people are looking down on you. You have a useless quirk, you dummy.
Because they have to look down at him. Anywho, Koichi can't stay long for Pop Step's performance since he has to dip to get to work. He works at like this convenience store. And in typical anime MC episode 1 misfortune, the thugs that he managed to escape from earlier just so happen to pull up at the exact convenience.
Oh, look at the stupid characters. Bob, Billy, and Tom.
Store that he works at, and yeah. That doesn't end well. The thugs take Koichi outside to whoop his ass. One of the thugs has like this Timu Wolverine type quirk, and yeah, Koichi ends up having to walk home humiliated after having his cheeks handed to him mid-shift. Once he's off the clock, Koichi decides to raise his spirits by doing some vigilante hero work. Apparently that's just what Koichi does when he needs to get his mind off shit, and this is actually where I want to go back to the beginning of the video where I was talking about the differences between Deku and Koichi that I said I'd get back to later. And for a second I want to talk about how Koichi kind of fills in one of the blind spots that a lot of people critique Deku's characterization for. One critique you'll hear in regards to pre-One for All Deku is the whole, oh, if Deku wanted to be a hero so bad.
I thought this one, My Hero Academia Vigilantes, was going to be more violent. It seems like it's not going to take a violent route. Like there's not going to be any kaboom and psst. less violence, you know. Seems like it's gonna be a little more My Hero. Is there gonna be any violence in this thing?
Why didn't he just do it himself type narrative, you know, the why didn't he just train and do street patrols, you know, shit like that. Now, I mean, the obvious canonical answer is because that shit is illegal as hell. Like, just because I want to become a cop doesn't mean that I could just grab a strap and start patrolling my neighborhood. I mean, in America it kind of does, but you get my point. I do understand the core of this critique though, and I even agree with it a little bit. There is something inspirational about seeing someone take action despite having the odds stacked against them. And we really didn't see that from OG Deku until he went to save Bakugo. Like, we didn't really see him doing anything during his day-to-day besides like taking notes on heroes and daydreaming. Koichi, on the other hand, takes a much more hands-on approach to chasing his dreams. He knows that with his quirk, he'll never be a hero in the traditional sense. Like, he'll never be All Might or nothing like that. But that doesn't stop him from locking in, putting on his All Might cosplay, and helping out how he can around the city. He helps picking up people's phones when they drop them. He helps giving people directions.
Okay, this has to be Deku's mom. And nope, not gonna say it.
To the train, nigga, is that Miss Midoriya? He picks up trash. He's just all around using his mobility quirk to be as much as a good Samaritan as he can. And because of his efforts, the locals have kinda come to recognize him as like somewhat of a pseudo hero who they call Nice Guy. Now, Koichi is perfectly content with
That's a stupid name.
being Nice Guy, right? Like, I don't even think he really wants to be a hero in the train.
No, don't take off your mask. People can tell who you are, man. No, don't do that.
Traditional crime fighting sense, but things take a turn for Koichi once he goes into yet another alley. This is like the third time this nigga is going into an alley in episode 1, by the way. And in this alley, he ends up meeting Pop Step, and of course, running into the thugs from earlier once again. Now, of course, with it being the first episode of an anime and all, the writers are going to give us that freak-ass borderline assault scene trope that they love to shoehorn into their stories for some reason. Like, come on, bro, we already knew these niggas were evil, man. Did we really have to do all that? But anywho, even though Koichi has understandable trepidation when it comes to the idea of running up on 3 niggas that spanked this shit a few hours ago, his hero heart won't let him stand idly by while there's someone in need, and he ends up attacking the thugs with his slip and slide quirk to absolutely no avail. Koichi, despite trying to be a hero, ends up finding himself victimized by the...
Now, leave a comment down below and tell me, will Deku do the same thing for this girl, or would he leave her alone? I'm just asking.
The thugs once again, except this time the thug group leader with this Wolverine quirk seems a lot more bent on doing actual lasting damage to Koichi. Like, it looks like he's really just about to go ahead and kill that nigga right there on the spot, but suddenly, as bootleg Logan's claws are closing in on Koichi's dome, this buff ass nigga fitted out in a trench coat and a cowl jumps off the roof above them and lands in like this big ass pile of trash bags that just so happen to be stacked over in one of the alley corners. Once he hits his landing, more or less, this buff ass nigga who apparently goes by the name of Knuckle Duster proceeds to start beating the shit out of these 3 thugs that have been tormenting Koichi the whole episode. He's got like these iron knuckles that he wears, and he just starts whooping their asses, no questions asked. After dropping all 3 of the thugs, Knuckle Duster starts checking their tongues for discoloration. We don't really know why he's doing this yet, but when Knuckle Duster notices that Koichi is trying to sneak off back into the night, he's
Why you running away, boy? Get over here.
like, hold on, kid. Come tap in with Unk Duster real quick. Like, I'm gonna turn you into a hero. Koichi's like, yeah, how about no? I don't really have a hero type quirk, and so, yeah, there's no way I'm ever gonna get a license to do hero work. And Knuckle Duster's like, man, fuck a license, fuck a quirk. Being a hero is about if you rise to the occasion and handle what needs to be done when the time comes. Like, all that extra shit, licenses, schools, quirks, all that shit is for the birds, man. Come tap in with Unk Duster. Bootleg Wolverine tries to take Pop Step hostage once again, which, like, you're telling me that she didn't once think to move out of the way in like the 20 seconds that he was knocked out? But anywho, Koichi's hero spirit takes over again, and he's able to successfully save Pop Step, somehow using his quirk to like propel him forward at super speed, while Knuckle Duster follows up with those vicious ass
We could have used him on the Eagles.
iron knuckles that are definitely highly illegal to use during street combat. Anyway, we cut to a few hours later and Knuckle Duster has made his way into Koichi's apartment. Honestly, based off what I've seen from Unk Duster so far, I'm going to assume that he followed him without permission, but yeah, Koichi's apartment is actually pretty interesting in itself because instead of having like a regular apartment in like an apartment complex or something, he seems to be renting out like this little storage space that they have on top of a building, and then like I guess he converted that into an apartment, which like, hey, look bro, I get it, rent is getting crazy out here, you gotta do what you gotta do, my boy. But we cut back to the three miscreants who just got their ass dusted by the Knuckles, and these three felons actually end up running into this mysterious looking drug dealer with like a lightning bolt mark across his face. This drug dealer is apparently selling a drug called Trigger that like super enhances your quirk, right? I think they vaguely touched on the same drug in the OG My Hero. Maybe I'm tweaking, I don't know. But the three felons shoot up this quirk fin and suddenly become more.
Oh no, they're taking what's that drug that makes you overenhanced and who cares?
More of a problem than they were just a few minutes ago. Like Wolverine, for example, goes from bootleg Wolverine to an absolute spike demon. Now, come to find out, Knuckle Duster is actually trying to clean Trigger up off the streets, right? Like the reason he was checking those guys' tongues was so that he could see if they had taken any Trigger. Ironically enough, they hadn't back then, even though they've taken it now, and so yeah. Knuckle Duster is essentially recruiting Koichi to help him with his personal war on Trigger since, you know, because of like litigation and all the official shit that goes into being a legit hero, a lot of times the pro heroes can't respond to the spontaneity that naturally comes from people just, you know, randomly shooting up Trigger and going crazy. The problem with Knuckle Duster, however, is that, well, that nigga is fucking insane. You see, Knuckle Duster's idea of protecting the streets is going up and pressing anyone that he deems remotely suspicious. The problem with this method right here is, well, two things. One, Knuckle Duster doesn't have a hero license, and so he's technically not allowed to just go around pressing random niggas on the street for looking suspicious. And two, Knuckle Duster will literally see anybody doing anything and automatically think it's suspicious. Like he was literally about to beat the brakes off of this random salary man because
Oh, that poor salary man. I want to name him Kevin. Hey, Kevin. You're a lawyer. I want to beat you up for being a lawyer. Don't do it, man. I'm not. I'm a very good lawyer. Very good. Sorry, lawyer.
he wouldn't show him his tongue when asked to do so. Now, as you can expect, when you tiptoe the line between hero and villain like Knuckle Duster, the actual pro heroes of the world aren't going to be too fond of you and your behavior. And I mean, yeah, they're going to try to put a stop to it. As Knuckle Duster is in the middle of pressing the aforementioned salaryman, he suddenly gets stopped in his tracks by a pro hero that just so happened to be passing by. And when we do finally get a look at the pro hero that stopped him, we come to find out that this pro hero is actually a racer.
Yeah, I remember him. He's the sleepy guy. The very, what's his name, Eraserhead. And he loves to sleep or something. Girls like him. I don't know why. He's very sleepy. Look at him. Look at him. He looks like he wants to go to sleep all the time. To me, he looks like a drug addict.
Head himself. So yeah, that was the gist of My Hero Academia Vigilantes episode 1. I hope you enjoyed, and make sure to check out the link in my description so that you can try Scentbird for yourself.
Alright, that was it for the video.